so we're brought on from the read-through stage, so we know everything about the story before it's even being made. So, sorry. So, yeah, we get involved right from the beginning so that we can avoid spoiling things from the get-go. The problem is, when we're working internationally, if it's going out to a UK audience, we want to be there for those key moments and say, oh my God, you know, hashtag who killed Hayley for the latest series. But we also have to make sure we nurture our UK audience, and if we go silent on a really key moment where we've been following the story along with them, we call it second screen viewing. So whatever you're watching on the screen here should be happening in your hand also. So we have to make sure that we give those key moments, but try to put them in a least spoilish way. Sometimes it's impossible. Sometimes we put things out and people go mad, and we're like, sorry.
But the thing is, you're in agreement with the production company.
Yeah, everything's approved before it goes out, and we have to make a decision. Is it worth it going out and pissing off a few?
Yeah.
Or is it better to keep it back because it's going to piss off the many? Excuse my language.
No,
it's like Jeremy Corbyn.
There we go.
We had a really similar thing. Sorry to jump into your question, but we did so for The Apprentice for 2 series and had an absolute nightmare with spoilers because it's such a spoilery show in terms of who gets fired. And in the end, we went back and forth with exactly what you just said, and then sort of we netted out that if you're going to go on The Apprentice's social channels and you haven't watched the show, then you're a bit of an idiot.
Yeah.
So this is my views, not the views of the BBC. But I think so. In the end, we just because it was a bit daft to have a social presence that didn't tell you the most important part of the show. But it's an ongoing nightmare. I know.
We have asked fans to silence our accounts before as well. Which is a risky measure because they might forget to unsilence you.
Right.
But usually, if they're a die-hard fan, they'll remember. So we will say things like, you know, for the next 8 weeks, we will be releasing content that you have not seen.
Okay.
So please bear that in mind.
So David, kind of along those lines then, with comedy, it's obviously a lot more subjective, and when you said that you do the Have I Got News For You account, I just know from friends who like work in radio and stuff, or presenters who get like bollocked by their companies for some things they post, which are just... So have you ever overstepped the mark with any of the jokes that you've done? Like,
great question.
Are you not scared that some of the stuff...
Do you know what, actually, speaking of The Apprentice, this is me personally as a freelancer. This wasn't, as a company, we have been flawless and never made any mistakes, of course. But when I was freelance, one of the series of The Apprentice, we sent out a questionnaire to all that year's candidates, so I could get some good fodder to put in tweets. And it was like, the last film you saw that made you cry, that your favourite food, blah, blah, blah. And one of them was your favourite body part and your least favourite body part. And one of them, a lot of them are very posh, and one of them came back saying that his least favourite body part was his wattle, which, being as I am a very normal, humble boy from Leeds, I presumed he was talking about his penis. And it turns out, those of you in the audience that have worked on farms, or apparently this is it's a sort of farmery term for so this bit of skin here that's down here. And but having decided not to bother Googling what a wattle is, during a scene in The Apprentice when he was getting a very sort of sexy massage from one of the other candidates, I pointed out that he was being very cocky and being, I was like, but little do you know that he'll remain nameless. His least favourite body part is his penis, and it got lots of retweets. And then I had the exec of the show calling up saying, "Yeah, we've had such and such on the phone asking why you're tweeting about his." I'm going to stop saying, sorry, RTS for. And then I had to explain the mistake, and I had him on the phone, and it was nearly the end of my series on The Apprentice. But luckily, they forgave me, and it was all fine. And in the end, the winner was content.
But with the Have I Got News For You stuff that you put out, I just know from me and my background and my work that some things you like, it's like you've got more fear sometimes than actual like the liberation of like the thing. How do you...
With Have I Got News For You, we're incredibly lucky in that Hat-Trick, who employ us to do it, the production company, have a very, more than pretty much any client we worked with before, they're absolutely fine. They treat it like the show, and the show is very edgy. So they're generally, we get a team of writers to write jokes every day, and then we send them over to the producer, and he says yes or no. Generally he says yes, or he picks his favourite ones. But there's only been sort of 2 or 3 times where it's either gone a bit too far and there's been a bit of a backlash, or he's sort of gone, maybe we shouldn't have done that. But they sign it off anyway. But also they're quite good at they don't really they've got an appetite for it to be edgy.
So on that, with all three of you, with the people you employ to write posts, so I started out in radio when I was 16, and I've got like the compliance training like nailed into me about libel, contempt of court. I know. So when I tweet, as like personally, I still have in my mind that it's like broadcasting on the radio or on telly with all those things. Do the people you employ, are they up on libel and what you can or not? Is there?
Yeah, it's a great question. With Channel 4, it's mandatory. They have to. Anyone working on the account has to have the training, or we have people in the team who do the training, then give them the training. But they have to know what is, because otherwise you get in all kinds of trouble.
We have a second eyes system, so you upload your content and then somebody else has to second eyes it and approve it. It's just spelling and grammar as much as liable stuff as well, but just make sure that someone sense checked it, because you can think something's really funny and put it up and then it's really not, or whatever. So we have two people, an uploader and an approver on every single post.
And then Craig, obviously, genius move getting into what you've done with the politicians. But it must be like literally like showing fire to cavemen with some of that video is really good. I've seen it before. If you like, when you get home and see, what was the MP's name?
Greg Knight.
Greg Knight is really, really good. With what has happened with the American elections and the Cambridge Analytica and have you found that a new challenge? Because obviously you're saying that social media is now being involved more in politics, but obviously with that has come some negativity as well.
Yeah, we always steer away from targeting. I think the big problem with Cambridge Analytica was that people don't like being targeted. So what we say is actually create good content. You don't need to target people, if you create good videos that get shared, it reaches the people that like it without you targeting them with sort of behind the scenes things. But no, it was definitely a bit of an issue that came up.
Yeah, but is it something that because the politicians have come to you more, as in it's like because this has happened, we want to make sure we do this properly.
Yeah, and also they realise the power of it, but they want to make sure that they're doing it all properly. What you see, I mean, it's a weird thing in the US with how much credit can be given to the way Cambridge Analytica did it for Trump. But I think what people are realising now is that actually social media is powerful and they should be utilising it. So what we saw with Trump was interesting and different and quite a new way of doing things, which has now kind of woken up the rest of the world to social media.
Great. Thank you. Right, so we've got about 5 minutes actually. So can I quickly open to the floor whilst we've got these people here? Yes. Are we doing microphones or not, or just shouting? No, we're not going to attempt it. Yes. So,
firstly, thanks to all the panel. You've been so generous in sharing your insights, born out of so much hard work and experience, so thank you.
Great question.
The first question was, congratulations on your work with E4, David. Being second, begs the question, who's the broadcaster with the highest viewed pages globally?
Two of my team are here. Do you guys know? It's one. I'd say I wouldn't be. It's definitely one of the big American broadcasters, but I'm not sure enough that I'm going to commit to it. It might be Fox, but I want to check.
The other question was just why you were moving away from Facebook Live. It sounded like.
Oh yeah, it's actually an interesting one. It works really well if your objective is to be innovative on social and to sort of extend the show into places. It's brilliant. We did some ones that we were really proud of. It was really interesting, and because of other David Schneider's background, we sort of were able to produce them. We've got a production team in-house and we made them like little TV shows. The reason that we stepped away from with Channel 4, we still do a lot of them with brand clients, is the cost and effort and resource of them compared to making the types of videos that I showed, like the Secret Life for 4-year-olds, where we're just taking the gold from the existing shows. For the cost of doing one of those Facebook Lives, we could make about 10 to 15 of those videos, and those videos would get bigger numbers. So it was just about sort of cost versus return, really. But they still occasionally get, when we've got access to talent or behind the scenes or something, they're absolutely brilliant for that. It's just, if you're purely wanting numbers and eyeballs, which Channel 4 wanted on Facebook, that it wasn't quite as good as just posting the gold from the shows.
Thank you. Gentleman behind, yes.
Hi. Do you bother much with YouTube and Vimeo at all?
Joe?
We are starting to use YouTube more. Vimeo less, for no other reason than YouTube seems to be what the girls in our office use most, so we'll stick to what we know most. So we started to upload old content to YouTube as well to try and keep people interested, and we notice a lot of fan accounts take our content anyway and put it on, so we may as well be the owners of that content. The reason we haven't done it more in the past is actually getting sign-off and getting the content up and out, because if you're giving away clips from episodes, it's funny, if we shape it square and put it on Facebook, that's cool, but if you want to put it up wide and put it on YouTube, that's not cool. So it's just getting around kind of broadcasters, indies, etc. to explain, actually, if we get more, the more we give, the more we get from viewers. So we're starting to do more and more of it.
Craig, do you do anything beyond the social media platforms?
Yeah, we do. If you're doing a long speech, I think YouTube is key, is long form content. So if you're doing, say, a panel like this, I'm sure the full thing will probably end up on YouTube. That's the place to put anything long form, really.
Anyone else? Yes.
Just a question for Joe.
Oh, well done. Who said that? Oh, right, hold on, let's do it. Right, I'll quickly do it, and then next.
You're talking about uploading at the correct time to your target audience, right? How do you target, how do you go about Instagram? You're obviously now not in chronological order.
So, same, all of them we do the same, which is we go for the immediacy. So if Instagram, Facebook with their algorithms and stuff, that content can carry for days. So we try not to make it time limited. So we wouldn't say like just got out of work. Actually we might, but something that's got a time limit to it, because it could carry for days if it does well. Whereas on Twitter you can be in chronological order, it's all fine. But if you hit them at the right time, you're going to get enough engagement at that moment that pushes it through into everybody's feeds, and that's what you want. So it's about the immediacy anyway. So I pick what I think is the peak time for that audience. No worries.
Ben.
Yeah. So a question about measurement, how you measure success. So when a production company or a political party engage you to deliver it, how do they measure success? Is it purely eyeballs and numbers, or do they go on to measure the sentiment it's generating, and that maybe then influences their programs, or how does that work?
With us, it varies by client. So with Channel 4, they just want as many eyeballs on that content as possible, and as many people tuning in to watch content. So it's just measured on reach. It varies by platform, sometimes different engagements, and it is changing with sort of Instagram. There are sort of different ones, but it does vary very much by client. And as I mentioned before with Facebook Live, sometimes some clients want to be innovative and want to do things that are different. Sometimes it is about sentiment. We find that's more with brand clients and broadcasters, but it varies by client.
We found it really interesting, actually. We never get asked for reports. It's the weirdest thing. We provide them. We provide reports. We give them on a monthly basis. We feedback on every campaign, every channel that we're managing for those clients. But they don't ask for it, and they're always kind of like surprised when we send it. And I go, well, how do you know what you're paying us for? But as long as they can see that people are engaging and people are enjoying the content we're sharing, they're pretty much happy, because it's all about audience engagement and retention. So if we're providing that audience with that content, we almost seem to be doing enough. For me, that's not enough. We want to show, let's say if it's the NTAs, I want to be able to say, this is how many people click through to the NTA website based on our posts. This is how far this piece of content went, and this is why. So then we can develop better content in the future. But actually, a lot of people don't ask us for it. I don't know if you guys have that, or if we're in a weird...
Yeah, no,
niche.
You're lucky. Yeah, all our clients ask for it all the time. Yeah.
I'm in a weird little bubble. Stop asking. I don't need it.
What about you, Craig, with the politicians who may not understand it in the first place?
Yeah, it's very hard to show a trend between someone watching a video and then actually voting for someone. It's very hard to actually do that, and I think even when I was at Sky as well, that was another thing that came up, and it's like how can we show that this person who watched this video would then go on in 6 months to buy a Sky package? So it's very hard to put those things together, but I think aiming for reach and engagement, I think, is probably the main one you go to. If you're reaching a good amount of people and you're getting a good amount of engagement, then you're on the right track.
Facebook is, if it's being shared with your page on it, with your brand around it. Some of the content like that, I think you just have to accept the purpose of that piece of content was just getting engagement, getting more people to the page, getting more, and it doesn't necessarily have to be immediately attributed to Channel 4. And to be fair, those GIFs aren't owned by Channel 4. But the beauty of Facebook, I suppose, is that it's shared with that around it.
I would say the font you use and the colours you use tell a lot as well. So on Instagram, for example, I follow BuzzFeed, and I always know it's a BuzzFeed piece of news by the way it's delivered. I don't have to see the word BuzzFeed to know it's BuzzFeed. So if you can make your brand strong enough that people recognise the fonts and the formats, then they'll recognise it without literally the branding and the logo, but it will have the logo anyway because you're sharing on a social platform.
It's pretty quite easy, isn't
It's
it?
the word.
Yeah, but what party?
It's often the opposite in politics because sometimes you don't want people to know where the content is coming from.
Yeah.
It's better to put stuff out and not have the bias that usually comes with people knowing about political parties. But I think watermarks are key as well for us, I think. End boards as well. Put your end board on any videos and just a little sort of transparent logo. You'll be surprised to then see it in other places.
And are there quick tools to do watermarking nowadays, or is it the fact that you just got to do it in the edit like in Premiere or something, or is not an app where it can quickly...
There are apps, and I'm trying to remember the one we used to use, and I can't, sorry. There are apps, but it's better. If you're making that kind of level of quality video, you should be editing properly and adding proper watermarks. You don't want to be just doing things on the cuff and them being poor quality. So,
time for one more quick one.
What is the optimum length of a video on Facebook, Snapchat and Twitter?
okay.
Snapchat.
On Instagram, you've only got up to a minute anyway, so you can't post any longer than that. Facebook used to be short and sweet, so it was a kind of, sort of 10-second, 30-second videos, but actually some of the best performing content on Facebook is around 2.5 minutes. So it has to be a compelling enough story, good enough content, people will stay and watch it. I think it depends again on what you want from people. If it's just a quick, here we are, engagement piece, short and snappy, if it's to get them involved in a programme, loving the programme before it goes out, maybe a trail, you want to extend that and make sure that you're getting the full story and the full flavour for it. On Twitter, you're only allowed up to 2 minutes 20.
Unless you've got an account like a
So you're limited to that as well. But I'd say it's probably long enough because on Twitter, it's that fast pace. It's news break, so you're scrolling quite fast. Why would you sit and stay with a piece of content for 10 minutes? You just wouldn't. That's my opinion.
Yeah, no, everything Joe said. I don't think it's as simple as we've got lots of different clients for which the rules that we found in terms of length and types of video vary massively. So I think it's more about who and what type of brand or broadcaster you are, what your content's like. The key one that, as Joe just said, is we used to try and make Facebook videos as really short because everyone was saying you need a short video. But Facebook, a lot of our top 10 most viewed videos that have got massive numbers are what you would call long content up to, and we've got some we have experimented with. We did one with Hollyoaks, which was, I think it's the longest we've ever done, and that was 7.5 minutes, I think, 8 minutes, which by social, I know in TV standards that's nothing. In social, that's like, Dances with Wolves or something like that. But we did it and it performed really well. And I think with Facebook, if you've got the right type of audience, the right type of content, then you've got the opportunity to do long stuff. And now with Facebook Watch coming, I think that Facebook is getting more into the sort of Netflix and Amazon space. But so I think it varies. It's more about what your content's like.
I think with us, we always tend to, especially if you've only got, say, 5 minutes with an MP, and they do like the sound of their own voices, we like to say to them, aim for a minute, especially if you've just got a short window of time, because then in the edit you can make that a 30-second, you can make it a minute clip. It's hard because, if you don't have much time with the people, you've got to just go for a standard. But I think around 1 minute is what we tend to aim for.
But it makes such a difference of who, so the difference between Channel 4, it's easier with a broadcaster that people know and love. They know Channel 4 is putting some content out, I'll sit and watch it, and that's fine. Compared to some of our very brand clients, who might be great brands, but they actually sometimes, if it's more than 10 seconds, you lose them and you see real drop-offs, even if the content is good, or we think is good. I think it is about who you are and what.
I would watch your analytics as well. Learn from your past content. If something did amazing at 30 seconds, but the next one died at 45, go back to the 30 and do that again, and sort of play around and figure out your audience.
I think that is all we have got time for. Thanks. Apologies to you and the panel for the dodgy Wi-Fi and the sound on the thing.
I apologise about the sound.
No,
I've been setting it all.
I went to Maplin in the closing down sale. Crazy. If you are going to mention this, please use the hashtag RTS Buzz. We've been tweeting some stuff throughout the throughout the session tonight. So if you want to have a little recap, all the key bits are on there. But if you just want to give a round of applause, please, to our panellists, to Joe Boone, David Lillian, and also to Craig Dillon. Hand you over.